Think back on your favorite Twitter moments of the past decade.
I got beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes.
You name it! Why you always lying?
The OG, cause it's never enough.
What do they all have in common? Melanin. Today's baggage, Black Twitter. Where do politics, memes, Black culture, and activism come together online? You guessed it, Black Twitter. Black Twitter is Twitter. It's a congregation, a community, church. Heck, I'd argue that Black Twitter is the most poppin' space on the internet. But what kind of legacy has it created? Now, where can I find someone who's an expert in all things Black Twitter? Got him! Professor Meredith D. Clark's pretty much a Black Twitterologist.
When people try to juxtapose Black Twitter versus, let's say, mainstream Twitter or just Twitter, the assumption that they're making is that white users and the people who created Twitter are the default. And so whatever white users are doing, that is mainstream or regular Twitter. And we know that that just isn't so. Black Twitter makes Twitter what it is. It is what drives the pithy conversations. I'd say that Black Twitter has shaped culture on Twitter the same way that Black culture has shaped American culture for years. The things that happen on Black Twitter and the people who take note of them are just like so-called culture vultures in other subsets of culture, right? People tend to marginalize Black folks and think what we're doing is gauche or perhaps out of step with the mainstream. And then all of a sudden, imitation becomes a form of flattery that they use. So they pick up the language, they pick up the innuendo. And we've seen the same thing happen with jazz, rock and roll, hip hop.
Black Twitter creates the cool, starting with language. Y'all remember the term on fleek.
Abraz on fleek.
To dance challenges like the In My Feelings challenge, which was started in 2018 by a dude from Queens named Shiggy. The challenge went so far that an FBI fugitive danced his way across the tarmac after being captured, y'all. And live tweeting. Black Twitter loves a good live tweeting session. Scandal totally made live tweeting a thing. And now every poppin' show or movie has a hashtag.
I don't think there's anything that can top it. Is the day that Yahoo News tweeted that Donald Trump wanted a bigger Navy, only they got the N and the B keys mixed up. And so Black Twitter took off and created the so-called N-word Navy. You know, we took something that is a slur that is still very contested in terms of its use, and we had a field day with the jokes.
Clark says that regardless of the shenanigans, Black Twitter is also a space for civic engagement.
What I do think Black Twitter has the ability to do is to foster in people the same sort of sense of responsibility that our Black ancestors had when they created Freedom's Journal, the first newspaper published by two free Black men in the United States, when Ida B. Wells created the Red Record and documented lynchings across the country. That same spirit is being witnessed via Black Twitter when someone says, I see something that is wrong and I believe I can do something about it by using a tool of the media.
Some of those wrongdoings that Clark refers to are police violence towards people of color. Over the decade, Black Twitter has notably disseminated footage and information about violence against Black and brown bodies, like in the cases of Eric Garner's death by chokehold, and Chandra Bland's encounter with police, which led to her mysterious death in jail. But Clark says that this activism on Twitter doesn't just document police violence, and that it also includes calling for accountability within our own community. We see you, hashtag mute R. Kelly. Voices on Black Twitter have been a catalyst for change. Viral hashtags like April Reign's Oscars So White, Tarana Burke's Me Too, Kashawn Thompson's Black Girl Magic, and who could ever forget Black Lives Matter, which grew into a global social justice movement against police brutality and was created by 3 Black women. Hashtags like these shifted the cultural landscape, made the media pay attention to the ways Black people are treated in this country, and changed how we discuss injustices against our people. Author and activist Feminista Jones is what one would refer to as a Twitter OG. She knows about injustices faced by women all too well, and in 2014 created hashtag ULU Cases to take a stand against street harassment. Tell us the story behind ULU Cases.
I was actually out with my son and we were walking, and there was a young woman and she couldn't be more than 22, 23, and she was pushing a stroller. And a man approached her trying to sell his music, and she was polite and was like, no thank you, but he kept following her. You could see she's uncomfortable, but she's trying not to make a scene, and he grabs her arm, and I just was like, are you okay, sis? Because I was like, I'm tired of us just not saying anything. I went home and I told the story on Twitter, and I just got to this point, I put out a call to action. I was like, can we just do something this summer? If you see someone being harassed, can you just ask if they're okay?
On another note, you've been doxxed, you've had death threats made against you. I am curious as to, you think that you are particularly targeted because you are a Black woman and an activist on Twitter.
I think I'm more targeted and have been targeted because I'm an open feminist. When you declare that Black women need to be free and liberated, you're going to draw hate from white people and non-Black people, and you're going to draw hate from men. And so you've got to deal with both of those things. And some of the worst attacks, unfortunately, have come from Black men who hate feminism, and they hate this idea that Black women believe that they need feminism. They see it as an affront to their power. And then at the same time, you're dealing with racism. And you can get into a space where you're constantly feeling like you're defending yourself. And it's part of being a vocal activist. It's part of affirming that an oppressed group deserves to be free.
George M. Johnson is another prominent voice on Twitter. Johnson is a writer, activist, and author, speaking up for the experiences of Black and queer people on the platform. As a Black queer person on Twitter, what has your experience been?
It's not the easiest, especially like when you're someone as vocal as myself. But I'm also very transparent, and so sometimes transparency is used to attack me. So it's like, if I talk about the fact that I'm HIV positive, right? If I talk about some of the things I've been through, when I'm in a moment where people disagree, they oftentimes will use that to, attack me.
That's dirty. That's kind of low.
And I mean, but it's one of those things that I hate to say it comes with the territory, but it comes with the territory of Twitter. But I do also think a lot of times it's hard for people because, people who are heterosexual or people who are white who may know me in a different capacity, when I'm calling out something from that particular community, they may get offended. My job isn't to pacify people. My job is to make us better, but I can't make us better by always worrying about someone else's feelings. And so that then becomes hard.
On Black Twitter, there is definitely a culture of accountability. Sometimes folks just have to get dragged. There's also this culture of clout chasing.
They do anything for clout. They do anything for clout.
Everybody wants that one viral tweet in hopes of becoming an internet celebrity.
A lot of people fail to realize going viral doesn't equal a paycheck. I still work every day, I still write op-eds, I'm still freelance. A lot of people who became a voice on Twitter, it wasn't because they were chasing something to become a voice. They did the work, and when they did the work, the byproduct of doing good work, or work in general, was that people began following them. But they didn't go into it with the intention of, I'm gonna make people follow me for doing these particular things. And so I think that's kind of the balance that people have to figure out.
While some are still working on that balance, others say the future of Black Twitter is still uncertain.
I think that people are starting to feel like Twitter is not responsive enough to the serious issues that Black people have shared that they have about Twitter. I do wonder if it's even going to exist in the next 10 years. But I'm not concerned because the community exists wherever it was. We were on MySpace, we were on Black Planet, we're on Facebook, we're everywhere. We're going to be everywhere because we are a Black community and we are a global community, so we'll find each other whether Twitter exists or not. When you can change the way companies market and brand their products, that's power. When you can swing votes, that's power. There's so many things that Black Twitter has been able to do as a collective that reflect the power that we have just as a people.
Our Twitter fingers have literally changed the world. And we know that the 2010s wouldn't have been the same without them. Tweet that. How does it look on screen? Like they look bad in real life. And we do, was there any notes on that one?